From the Lagos television broadcasting station around the world and across wherever you are watching us, we want to say a very big welcome. Thanking you for joining us on yet another time out on Issues and Trends. Today we will be taking a critical look, analyzing, discussing, and of course bringing to bear issues that has to do with global environmental concerns. And whether we like it or not, this is a situation that is affecting the global world as we speak today. Some call it cyclones, some say tornadoes, some say they call it different names, whatever it is. But the bottom line is these are indeed challenging times in the global world order when we look at happenings in the environmental world of today. We thank you for joining us. It is Issues and Trends with Obafemi Craig. We say a very big welcome, thanking you for joining us. All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Again, it's still Issues and Trends, where we're reaching you from the broadcasting station of Lagos television across the world and wherever you are watching us today. Thanking you for being part of our discourse today. My guest today is a distinguished personality. She is, by her reckoning and her profiling, an environmentalist and urban planner who teaches environmental management at the Leeds City University in Ibadan, Nigeria. She completed her PhD in the Department of Geography and Planning Science, University of Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria in 2010. Her research areas include environmental planning and management, climate adaptation, and of course, regional and community development with special interest in water resources and gender issues. She is a registered member of the Town Planners Registration Council of Nigeria, TOPREC. She's also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners and, of course, Nigeria Gender and Water Alliance member association in the Netherlands. It's a great honor to have as my guest today, Professor Grace Olukoyi. We say a very big welcome. Thanking you, Ma, for being my guest here today.
A very delightful event to be part of Issues and Trends today.
All right, let's start one-on-one with you. Let's start with a quote of Christiana Mampo, one of the international correspondents of CNN. You can just look at me so that let's just ignore that. Let's just face each other. She said something that today we live in unpredictable times when no one in whatever status, whether as a professional, whether as anybody that you are, whatever the status, no one can readily predict the challenging times of today when we look at the global challenge of climate crisis. Prof, what do you say to that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Craig. We live in a time that we have so many uncertainties. The happenings around us in terms of the tempo, the frequencies, the severity of those happenings are telling us that we live in perilous times. We live in times of uncertainties. Science, technology, and predictions, our simulations in our laboratory, projections we are making, are showing us something unlikely to happen. But the trends of these happenings is getting overwhelming. And it seems as
the
if
trends of this happening is getting overwhelming. So it concerns you.
It concerns
It bothers
us.
you.
Yes.
As stakeholders,
Yes.
as professionals.
Yes.
So where are we going from here?
it then means that business as usual will not help us. It means that what we have learned before now, this is the time to unlearn, to relearn, and to learn again.
Unlearn,
Yes.
relearn,
and
learn.
learn. Those things we have learned in the years past, we were told, I remember in my elementary geography, that there's what we call decadal flooding, that it will happen once in 10 years.
Decadal
Flooding. That is, if you have it in 2010, you should expect another one in 2020, you should expect another one in 2030. But today, we are having annual flooding. In fact, in some parts of the world, flooding is coming now, and they will go back in history and say, no, we have never experienced something like this. For us in Nigeria, it's already becoming an annual event for our coastal cities. And surprisingly, we had one in 2022 in which 34 states out of 36 in the Federation were flooded. So many properties, so many lives, so many businesses were grounded, our livelihood was impacted, our livability was impacted, our wellness was impacted. So we are in a time in which what we are experiencing is already telling us that we must wake up and do things with all manner of ingenuity.
We must wake up.
We must wake up
and do things
with ingenuity.
In all manners of ingenuity.
We need to do that.
Can we now say that predictably, maybe science has failed us today?
No.
When we look at the challenges that we have to contend with environmental concerns, the global climate change, and what today is affecting humanity in their survival and existence.
Mr. Craig, science has not failed us. Rather, science has given us opportunities to understand the complexity of what we are facing.
The complexities
is so complex
of what we are facing.
Yes. The extreme events that the whole world is battling with are coming to us from two drivers. One is the climate system itself, in which today we are having melting of icebergs in the ocean.
That's right.
Icebergs on the mountains.
Yes.
And so many tectonic forces under the surface of the earth.
Volcanic forces.
Yes, so we are battling with that, which are natural forces. But they are being propelled by human activities. And that's why those are becoming disasters to us.
Propelled?
Yes, by
human activities. And that is a concern today.
Yes. Our misbehavior in the past is what is giving us what we are having now.
What did you just say now?
Our misbehavior yesterday.
In the past?
In the past. So the reward of it is what we are having today.
How do you mean?
Okay, for instance, our cities are expanding without proper land use planning to guide the expansion, to guide what we do, what we don't do. Even when there are limitations that, oh, you can't build beyond this, after we have gotten approval, don't we still do what we want to do? Today we are encroaching into the ecological space. Wetlands are being destroyed for the purpose of all manner of constructions that we are doing. And don't forget, the ecological space, once we disturb it, it will fight back. And that's why
the ecological space.
Yes.
Once we disturb,
it will fight
back. So
the fighting back is what we are
experiencing today. So we cannot tamper or toy with the natural flow of nature.
By design, the way God has designed the nature is that nature will replenish itself. But each time a human being, because of our ego, we go.
Because of our ego.
It's actually ego and our greediness. So we think,
some say it's adventure.
It's adventure, but don't forget that most of the time the adventure would disturb the natural flow. And this ecological system, the way God has designed it, is that it has a pattern.
It has a pattern.
It has a pattern.
And that should not be tampered with.
That should not be tampered with. Let life be. Let nature be if you also you want to be.
Let life be.
Let nature be.
Let nature be if you want to. That's amazing, the statement.
We are what I mean is that we are co-ownership of the space.
That's right.
Humans, non-humans, and that's why in elementary sciences, we were taught in primary school that the living things and non-living things, we have a relationship. And that relationship must go symbiotically.
That's right.
So the plants we gain, human being we gain, oceans we gain, But each time, human beings, because of our ego and greediness, you want to say, no, we are super. And you want to
encroach.
You encroach into their own space. They will fight back. So with all our technological innovations, we are disturbing ocean currents. And that's why ocean also want to breathe. Aquatics, animals and floras in the ocean, they also want to live. They will fight back.
Prof, was that why you said extreme events today is affecting the course of humanity? Do we have a solution to it?
There is a solution, even though we may not be able to solve all. And the solution is that we must adapt to the changing, to the changes that we are having. It's a new order entirely. We must adapt to it. And then we must now mitigate against severity of these events tomorrow. And what do I mean by adaptation?
Mitigation against the severity?
Yes, of it, against tomorrow. So for today, we will adapt with the changes that is coming to us. And then we work at reducing the negativity against tomorrow. We are already in it all over the world. Some countries of the world are having extreme events of rainfall. Some are having extreme events of droughts.
That's right.
The Horn of Africa is going through a lot in the last few years.
That's right.
An extreme drought has implication for agricultural livelihood, for food security, for public health system, for infants and maternal mortality.
For infants and maternal mortality. Prof, today, hearing what you're saying gives me worrying. Worrying because each time I tune to monitor the news outlets, when I scramble from CNN to BBC to Sky News to Al Jazeera, to
France
all of
Descartes.
the news, France 24 and all of that, and Dutch, what do we call them? Many like that. You now begin to hear words like tornadoes, cyclones, floods, storms, winds, earthquake, erosion. Today, Abu Dhabi, that was seen to be a very peculiar country with its technological advancement in really, addressing every concerns of existence, recently got flooded. Today we talk of Brazil. We cannot imagine the deaths that has been recorded. Kenya in Africa is still on CNN. If you tune on CNN as I speak, it's also a concern. So all of this, where is it taking us? And where will it lead to?
Like I said, this is a perilous time.
Perilous time?
It's a perilous time. In fact, from spiritualism, we will continue to experience unthinkable.
From spiritualism,
unthinkable.
we begin to experience unthinkable.
Things we cannot think of it. Things we cannot imagine. Before now, UAE was able to harness technology to harvest water and to divert it into tourism industry, and so many fantastic things were done.
Scientifically. Technologically.
It was so superb.
To make a statement of human advancement.
Yeah. But the flooding came to show us that in all our simulations when they were doing the project, there are certain things we didn't take care of. That's just what just happened.
Take care of like?
For instance, when they were measuring that, okay, we can go to this extent, into the ocean, we can build this. You know, there are so many suspended tourist sites.
Absolutely.
In UAE.
That's right.
That you don't need to go and land your flight in any airport. You just come straight to the 7-star hotel. Right? You're just there. Those fantastic projects. But in all the simulation, did they ever consider influx of population?
Point number one.
Because as you are having more people in any space, the issue of survivor will become a problem. Because there will be a pressure on the existing
infrastructure.
utilities.
That's right.
And then waste that is being generated by the influx of population, there's now a challenge of how do you manage that waste. And the ecological footprint will also be affected.
That's correct.
So all these will have impact on whatever they have done before now. So you take Nigeria for example. We are giving birth and our population is increasing day in, day out. But the land space in Nigeria has not increased.
It has not.
So we are still having what we have. But as we are having more population in the country, plus the bad governance system, pollution everywhere, it means
abuse
that
of the environment.
So it means that even the available resources we thought we have is actually diminishing. It's not enough for the population we are bringing into life.
So we cannot in any way mitigate.
We cannot in any way
these challenges of what we are contending with.
Yeah. So in dealing with this situation, even though science is helping us to give us projection that this is likely to happen.
Predictions as well.
Yeah. In the last 2-3 weeks, NIMET has been doing a fantastic job in Nigeria, giving us projection that, okay, so state, you will experience this type of abundance of rain. So state, you will have drought. That's good. We are having information, but what are we doing with the information? We are helpless because before now, we have never have a plan on how do we cope. We are just having flows of population without any plan on how do we cater for them. And that's as implication on this.
When you say this, it gives me concern. Today, we are talking about the Atlantic City in Lagos.
Oh, that's a very big one.
I'm sorry, but I need to reference that.
Okay.
Let me hear your view concerning that. We know what it used to be then. It was a resort as a bar beach where we all go. But we know at sometimes it overflow. It's banned. And of course, the government will say, but that we are doing what we're doing now to expand the expansion, the frontiers of those coastal line for human existence and human habitation.
Yeah.
Does it give you a worry and a concern with what we're saying?
As a professional town planner, I'm worried.
Why are you worried?
My worry is, have we actually taken care of all those components of what we are doing?
Components like?
Like I said, that the nature must breathe. Have we taken care of it that if the water is not breathing out,
If the water is breathing
out, do we have enough capacity to absorb the breathing out? There are countries of the world that are even living below sea level. Netherlands, Stockholm.
Stockholm.
Yeah. But one beautiful thing you will see in those cities is that their canals are still behind their houses. The water is still flowing freely. Do we have water flowing freely in Lagos? We have blocked all the drainages with debies.
Building, even on
Waste
the parks.
from our homes, waste from industries have blocked those drainages. So the water cannot even flow to go straight into the lagoon. So whatever we are doing now in Atlantic, the challenge will be all the tributaries of water in Lagos, can they flow freely? And if they cannot flow, don't forget, they will get stopped. And when they're stopped, what is going to happen?
A repercussion for humanity.
And that's why you see when it rains heavily, go around our cities, you see splashes of debris of waste everywhere. Those are the challenges. It's not just about engineering construction. There are more to a social and behavioral pattern in this part of the world.
There are more to a social and behavioral pattern in this part of the world. I won't like that phrase. So, which means in all of this, the funny thing is, like you said, all of this activity has been propelled by human activity.
Yes, sir.
Is there a solution to how we can curb that?
One of the ways to curb this is working with stakeholders.
Working with stakeholders, how do you mean?
We have gotten to a stage now that the government cannot just come and say, we want to do this. All of you, obey. It doesn't work that way again. Any project that is just being driven by the government, we have a good start. but it's likely to get to a cul-de-sac.
They call the suck.
Yeah. It won't go far. Because the community will say, we don't even know what they are doing. We know they are doing something, but we don't know what they are doing. And they will not support it.
And that kills it.
And that will kill it. And that's why the governments, the donor agencies, we must work with the stakeholders. Get them involved. Let them see why this must be done.
When you say get them involved, is it in the formulation of government policies, government programs, action plan of government, or whatever government intends to do, or the key players must be involved so that they can guide, direct, advise, and technically look at how the entire scenario will play out? What are you really saying in that?
Actually, it means that even in divining what the problem is, allow the community to have a say.
Allow?
Yes. Because what you are calling the problem may not be the problem today. Let them give you the definition of the problem. And you allow all members of the community, physically challenged people, women, children, aged, people with underlying ailments, let them be part of the discussion. Not just business gurus that are only looking at the side of the financial gain to such a project, but what of the social gain? What of the gain in terms of the quality of life? So for me, working with stakeholders means let these stakeholders be the one to define what the problem is. You know what? Over a decade now in Oyo State, the state government started a fantastic project. They call it beautification of the street. It was so beautiful. And they were doing so many planting of trees, watering of so many things. And at that time, I have so many community projects in the core areas of Ibadan. And I was praising the government and that, the state government is already doing this. And some elderly people told me, and they put it in Yoruba, I said, what do you mean? The government is trying. All our streets are becoming now with gardens and whatever. They said they have sunk boreholes to wet flowers. And our wives, our children do not have water in our compounds.
That's
not it, madam. That project will not last. Lo and behold, after the first term of the government empowered that time, that was the end of all the landscaping projects.
Because they have not addressed it the way it should be addressed.
Landscaping is beautiful. It's all about giving an aesthetic to our city.
To our environment.
But in terms of the problem of the urban dwellers, is that their problem?
A very big question.
Carry them along. Let them define what the situation is.
So, whether we like it or not, Prof, humanity, from the very global perspective of the narrative that we are seeing today, humanity has encroached on the ecological space of nature.
Yeah.
And
the feedbacks is what we are having now.
From what you are saying now, whatever we see now is a result or a repercussion of that encroachment of the space.
Yeah.
Very, very worrying and damning indeed what we are seeing globally. And I'm sure you have seen it all too. You've been seeing all of these reports, CNN report, every other report concerning all of this natural challenges to humanity. Can humanity ever survive it?
Yeah, we can survive it. We can survive it.
How can we survive it?
It's all about doing things right.
How do you mean do it things right?
So you and I should manage our space right.
How?
If you generate waste in your house, take care of your waste.
Take care
of your waste.
Of my waste.
Don't just dump it in any available space in the gutter, in the drainages. If you want to build in your portion, build with the stipulated proportion that has been given by law. You can't just say, this is my space and I must build the 100% of my space. And then you concretize every space in there So the water cannot percolate. Oh, that's dangerous.
We'll
so
be right
you
back.
and I must do it right.
You and I must do it right. Let's take a cue out from there. We'll take another quick break here. When we come back, we'll take it from where Prof just said. You and I have to do it right. That's from there we'll take it on and look at what she's trying to explain the more. It's issues and trends. We thank you for joining us. We'll be right back in a second.
Eight years left to end poverty and hunger, to halve global emissions. It didn't start out as planned. We're not moving in the right direction. Years of progress lost in the pandemic. Escalating conflicts, climate breakdown. So where are we now? For decades, we successfully fought poverty. Now it's on the rise, again. 1 out of 10 suffer from hunger, more people than ever forced out of their homes. Climate disasters increasing. Droughts alone estimated to displace 700 million people by 2030. This year, CO2 emissions hit a new record. At this rate, annual emissions will be 14% higher in 2030. Meanwhile, fossil energy receives $700 billion in subsidies from governments.
Your government.
Safe water and sanitation not made accessible fast enough. Progress must quadruple to cover all people by 2030. Women are held back at all levels. At this pace, by 2030, 825 million children won't have secondary level education. Human rights, health, and equality all hurt in the wake of war and disaster. Disrupted economies, food and energy crisis, and galloping costs of living damage global solidarity. Everything interconnected. Everyone intertwined. Business as usual won't cut it. Even though we made progress before, going back to pre-pandemic ways is not enough. We need a new paradigm built on the pillars of our 17 goals. Rethink conventions. Flip the orthodoxies. Governments, organizations, corporations, citizens of the world, snap out of it. It's time for bold climate action. To act for women and girls, for social justice and inclusion. Scale up the transition to renewable energy. Create 85 million green jobs. Phase out fossil fuel subsidies and tax carbon. $2.8 trillion. Keep your promises. Support developing nations. Write off debts. Free up $1 trillion for climate resilience, people and communities. $500 billion for Africa to achieve universal energy access by 2030. Commit to a circular economy now. New, resilient food systems. They can cut waste by 17%. Strengthen domestic financial institutions. Make insurance and banking accessible to everyone. Scale up the digital transformation to educate the 1.6 billion kids who missed school in the pandemic. Educate girls, including the 130 million not in school now. Ensure women's equal share of decision-making. Eliminate discrimination against female workers and boost productivity by 40%. We cannot afford to leave anyone behind. We have a to-do list. We have the resources. 8 years to reach our goals. We're on this planet together. So let's work together. Let's get the list done.
It is the second day of the 10th Lagos International Climate Change Summit with the theme Accelerating Climate Finance and Championing Local Adaptation Initiatives. With this theme, the Lagos State Government and other stakeholders are seeking ways to close gaps in climate financing to bring about sustainable transformation in the quest for a livable environment. The Climate Policy Initiative estimates that about $2.8 trillion will be needed between 2020 and 2030 for Africa to achieve its global warming prevention targets. Climate financing has become a major topic of discussions in climate adaptation and resilience efforts. Experts at this summit, while commending the Lagos State Government for taking proactive steps in addressing climate change challenges, say the government must go a step further to explore opportunities, partnerships, and projects around climate finance.
Building internal capabilities to apply for funding opportunities. This could be as simple as, for instance, developing a database of funding options.
As an entity, whether private or public, you simply have to demonstrate your capacity. You have the right structures in place, right? And you have the capacity to put together bankable transactions.
As valuable contributors to climate action and agents of change, youths are challenged to scale up their efforts and use their innovation to accelerate climate action using available climate funds.
A lot of funding that are out there that young people can access to be able to drive your innovation to that level that you really want it. So innovation exists in whatever we do. Climate change exists in our day-to-day activity. However, it is our approach that matters as a young person.
The finance aspect is very critical, is very essential, but we must charge ourselves, educate ourselves through advocacy to see how we can tap into the finance.
Other topics discussed include accelerating innovation and private sector investment in climate resilience, local financing strategy for waste streams, and multimodal transport system as climate change adaptation mechanism for Lagos.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Issues on Trends. We're reaching you from the broadcasting station of Lagos Television across the world, and wherever you are watching us, we say a very big welcome. Well, my guest still is Professor Grace Olukoyi. She's a recipient of the START African Climate Change Fellowship Award, which was hosted at the University of KwaZulu Natal in South Africa in 2009 and 2010. And of course, she has worked on a number of projects at national and regional levels. She's presently working on a comparative study on land use pattern in the Sudan, Guinea Transition Zone of Benin and Nigeria, a project under the CRN of Codestria. And presently, she's a Dean of Faculty of Environmental Design and Management at the Leeds City University in Ibadan. And we are happy again, Prof, to have you as our guest. Now, we've been looking at this issue of concern. So let's take it from where we stopped. We're looking at doing things right. Can we ever get it right with the way humanity or sciences, so to speak, is adventuring, exploring into natural space of nature, that today we're seeing the repercussion of nature fighting back when it shouldn't be what it should be, what we're seeing today?
Okay, in doing things right, it takes a conscious effort at individuals level, household level, community, city level, regional level, national, and then you now move to continental and global. But it starts with each one of us. So one of the ways of doing things right is what I call environmental stewardship.
Environmental stewardship. And what are you trying to say with that?
That you see yourself as a steward of environmental resources. I see myself and I operate with that consciousness that all the resources around us, the water, the air, the land, they are given to us and we are stewards. So a steward is that person that is in charge to take care of, not to use and finish.
Not to
use and finish it.
And finish it.
No. Rather to nurture, to take care of that resource so that the resource can keep on serving you also.
Someone was telling me and critically challenging me that, Mr. Craig, can we challenge science in what they do? If science today can make some predictions, can forecast to determine what will come or what will not come, preparing our minds for the preparation of what is unexpected to see, but yet someone said that we don't listen to what science is saying, that science cannot be blamed for what we're doing, but rather humanity, we should be blamed because we don't listen to science. Is that correct, a thing to say?
Yeah, that's very correct. Science is here to just help us to put available knowledge together in a concrete term and to present it to us that this is what is happening and this is what it means and this is the implication. That's what science is just doing. However, it is for us as humanities to absorb that knowledge base and make use of it, internalize it and use it. Each time we fail to use that knowledge, it doesn't turn to anything. Even at household level, when you know that you are using prepaid energy, you already have that knowledge that is pay as you use. So you internalize it when you now know that when you are not available in your house, your bulb should not be on. Because you know that will increase the amount of energy usage,
you consume,
and that will also imply the amount of money you pay at the end of the day. So you internalize it and you use it at your household level. So when you are not in the house, you are in the office, the bulb in your house is not on. The television is not on. That's the way it is to every issue of our life. You get the information from the science and you apply it. When you fail to apply it, you are not wise.
You are not wise.
And that is the problem with developing countries. We have so many information at our disposal, but we don't make use of such. So, more often, we make policies that are not based on evidences, that are not supported by realities that we're going through. Our contexts are so different. So even a climate change adaptation plan, mitigation against extreme weather events, food security plan, as a country we have so many beautiful policy documents, but I'm afraid they are not contextualized.
Contextualized?
Yes.
How do you mean when they are not contextualized?
Reflecting the realities of our space. If you copy a document that is working in the United Kingdom and you bring it here, why is it not working here?
There's a peculiarity.
There's a peculiarity with a space. Our socio-cultural fabrics are not the same. You know what? I was having a joke with my students one day. I said, okay, can we do a longitudinal studies of behaviors of Nigerians to traffic lights? So let's pick the city of Ibadan. Pick the city
don't go
of
to Ibadan.
Lagos.
Let's come to Lagos.
So the city of Lagos and the same set of population, follow them to Abu Dhabi. Follow them to London.
No, when they get there, there will be a difference in how they behave. So why are not behaving well in this country?
You get it now. So that's the context. And you must understand the context to see whether a policy will work or not. See what Lasma, yes, is doing in Lagos.
Take them away for a second, there will be chaos.
There will be chaos. So with our mindsets, there is that need to press reset.
Reset.
So when we have reset in our perspective to the way we relate to the environment, the way we handle government policies on environmental issues, things will be normal. But you know, as we are in this part of the world, we have a way. Oh, government have said their own. Wait till we do our own now. And most of the time, there are no consequences.
No consequences.
Oh.
Because if there were consequences, what would have happened if there were consequences?
We'll be cautioned. We'll be cautioned.
Really?
We'll be cautioned. In those countries where, when you misbehave, institutions are in place.
Systemic structures are in place
to take care of your misbehavior. If you are not educated and you misbehave, you go against the law, the ethics of the land, you know prison is there. But here, there's a way we dodge.
You maneuver it.
You dodge the consequences, and then we still move on as if nothing has happened.
But someone said, well, if science had not explored the adventure or the adventurism into the natural space, maybe you won't be sitting here talking to me.
Oh, we will still be in the Stone Age.
What did you just say?
We'll still be in the Stone Age.
Meaning that it was good that science did the exploration.
Yeah, the exploration has brought advancements. And we have not stopped the adventure.
But you did say here that because man is encroaching into the natural space.
We will keep on advancing in knowledge. But we must do it with caution and respect nature. That's what I'm just saying.
We must do it with caution.
And respect nature.
How do we now do it with caution?
There's a need to balance. The balance is just the issue.
The balancing
is the issue. Because in sustainability concept, we are saying meet the needs of today without destroying the capacity of tomorrow to meet their own needs too. So even when you are exploring, you want to know what is going on down under the earth. You want to know what is happening in space, what is happening in other planets. As you are doing all that, don't forget, you are exploring for today, and don't forget, generation unborn will still live on this planet Earth.
Now, someone said to me, Prof, that in Nigeria today, and I'm happy you are a woman who lived in the village, who understands the naturality of life in the village life. But thank God for who you are today to say that, look, you belong to that climb where people can say, oh, so this can be a feat achieved. To God be the glory. But someone said to us that today as we speak, in Nigeria today, we cannot predict the unpredictable times of how nature will fight. But from Nimitz, there are reports, as given to me by my deaconess, my producer, that the expectation of what we will expect to see unexpectedly, let me use that again, with what we will see, would be unimaginable to think with the rainfall that we'll experience in the southwest. So she told me. And I was like, I'm going to put that question to you. And I'm doing that now. What can we do to salvage this situation of that forecast by Nimitz?
Thank you, Mr. Craig. I'm presently coordinating a project, a Pan-Africa project. It is interdisciplinary, and we're looking at interdisciplinary.
Okay.
Across Africa, 16 institutions across Africa. In Nigeria, 3 institutions are working together: Lee City University, University of Lagos, and the Nigerian Institute for Social and Economic Research. That's NISA.
NISA, that's right.
We are working together to look at extreme events and how are the margins coping.
And how are
the margins?
The margins coping.
Yes, the vulnerables. The people that do not have voices, how are they coping? NIMET is doing a fantastic job to tell us that this is about to happen. But when you look at it, for Lagos as a city now, when we have that abundant rain, do we have capacity to harvest it?
The capacity to harvest it.
So many countries of the world are already doing that. Malaysia is doing that. They will just harvest that abundant rain, and then they will transfer it to their own deserts. So Lagos and all the mangrove and the rainforest, you are having abundance of rain, just keep harvesting them. And then the way you are transporting crude oil from Niger Delta to refinery in Kaduna, that's the same way that water will now be transferred from Lagos, from Calabar, from Port Harcourt, and it will go to.
From your findings, do we have such technology to do that
We are
today?
yet to do that in Nigeria.
So
But there are countries of the world that are already doing
which
that.
means it's a waste when we have such experience.
Oh, the water will just come. Those that will drown, will drown. Those that will be flooded, those that will lose their buildings, their whatever, and then we shout. And our governors, they are so good, they will give us palliative. And after that, we wait for another one to come next year.
But Prof, someone said to me that people like you, professionals like you, are also not helping matters. And I said, how do you mean? And she said to me, where professionals like you are speaking out, you stand out as the voice of the voiceless. You shouted loud to government to listen. Maybe we won't be where we are today. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's very much correct. Most of the time, we are speaking it at a very low tone. In the Yoruba speaking part of Nigeria, so when something is biting you, and you're just doing like this, it's not something that thing is beating you.
It's painful.
So if it is painful, you will do this slapping and people will hear that something is wrong. So for people in advocacy, professional bodies, activists, we need to shout more. And the margins themselves, they need to shout more. The media, you need to help us to shout more. Let's show the realities to people in government so that they can see. For me, most of the time, they don't see. Mr. Craig, I hope you know that once they're in government, that this power fever, that will not allow them to see what exactly the realities are.
But you are out there as professionals.
So we will keep on shouting.
This.
When we keep on guiding, we will keep, but they must give us that platforms. Enough of just cut and paste policy that are not rooted to the communities. At the federal level, we can have a fantastic national policy about an issue. That's beautiful. But don't forget, the implementation must be by local actions. And so it was
the implementation must be
it's by local action. So whatever decision or policy in Abuja, it must come to Lagos State. Somebody in Lasamaja, Ikotun Egbe, Okoko Michael, they must feel it. Until they feel it, nothing is happening. It's just a white paper.
Until they feel it.
Until they feel it.
Look, if it happens in Kenya that we are looking at today, I think from the estimated deaths that was recorded, I think it's about 59. And Larry Madawa was what they counted. It's still giving an update on that because I'm following that. I was like, if it is Kenya today, which is it can be Nigeria tomorrow? Because let's look at it from the African perspective. So my concern now, Prof, is this. It would be a shame and a disappointment when we have the class of people like you as professionals who should guide, counsel government to say, look, let us listen to wisdom and be able to do what is right. Emergencies, you cannot predict. And we know we don't have the world with us still, much as we would have what we have. But there are some emergencies that is beyond what we have. We can manage it. So for you, what efforts are you doing as professionals across your respective borders to help salvage the situation of the natural crisis?
Yeah. One of what I do is what I'm doing now. Media engagement. And I must appreciate you and Lagos Television for this opportunity. This is critical. In my classroom, in my research outfits, I have limited space. But you engaging me now, this will go into places I cannot go. So media engagement is one critical area. Another one is the community and stakeholder engagement, in which we bring people together, different professional bodies, community people, the media, people in the academia, people in research and think tanks of the Federation. where we engage ourselves to talk about the issue. When we do that, and as we do it, we are gaining more ground. Also, an area that I'm looking forward for Nigeria to really, really work on is this policy engagements. Most of the time when we have summits, academic or research conferences, at the opening ceremonies, we have all our policymakers there. But immediately after opening ceremony, they are gone. So the real technical sessions where we are giving
They are not there
out,
to listen.
when we are giving out the way out,
They are not there to listen.
When we are presenting the result from our empirical studies, they are not there. And you know they are very busy people. So you write reports and you give it to them. Where will Mr. Governor get the time to read that long essay? Even though presently we are working on non-technical reports, give them charts, give them maps, that
to
they can
understand the nitty-gritty.
Give them the video and the audio where they can see
the reality.
A pregnant woman drawn in Ajegule. And they can see somebody in Etios and local government that is dragging 3 children to cross and is being trapped. When the governor sees that, you say, what? You made something like this is happening in my state?
The real.
So we are trying to do that now.
For proactive measures.
Yes, enough of
voluminous documentation.
Reports, because they don't have the time to read that. They are too busy.
Prof, I must thank you very much for this time to have you as our guest. You've been such a very resourceful guest on this program today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We cannot thank you enough, but we won't let you go, Prof, without you leaving us with a parting words. That's your camera. What message would you want to leave us with as you take your leave?
Lagosians, Nigerians, and all humanities on the service of the heart, we must do things right. Honor natural, environmental resources, and you will be honored, and you will live long. You will live in wellness, and you will prosper therein. But each time we work against the nature, we disturb the nature by our arrogancy, by our greediness, we will pay for it. That's the reality. Thank you very much for having me.
Prof, we say very big welcome and a very big thank you for the honor of having you on the program today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so very much. Well, viewers at home, it's just what it is like again today on Issues and Trends, where we'll take a critical look, analyzing trends the way they are. And if we must get things right, I've played my part by ensuring that we have them come to talk about all of these concerns. And like every other claims, we hope those in authority will listen, and not just listen, but let us act. Someone will always say, when you say something, you say something, and you please do something. We thank you for today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Please join us on our social media handles, and please let's have your feedback on what we say, what we're doing, and together we'll make the best of what we're saying. See you again next week.